Thank you. Good morning. Please silence all electronic devices for the duration of the meeting. Welcome, everyone, to the January 12th, 2026 Strategic Planning and External Relations Committee meeting. My name is Jeff Gibson. I am HART Board Counsel, and I will start the meeting until we have officers elected. The meeting format is hybrid. Quorum is physically present at the HART Administrative Office at 1201 East 7th Avenue, Florida Conference Room, and the rest of the board members are participating via communications media technology. Please take a look at your screens of your device and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first item on our agenda is public comment. No one had scheduled to speak. Is there anyone here for public comment? Seeing none, we will move on to the business of electing officers, which I will chair. The process is that I will take and ask for nominations from the floor, which do not require a second. Once nominations are closed, I will ask the committee members to vote on nominations in order to identify one committee member with the majority of votes. The last step is to confirm the committee officer's election with a motion by the board. Are there any questions before we begin? All right, well, the first position is Chair of the Strategic Planning and External Relations Committee. The 2025 chair was Director Williams. Do I have any nominations from the floor for the 2026 committee chair?
I'd like to renominate Director Williams. I think she's on her way, isn't she?
Yeah, the word was that she was close.
Okay.
Well, let's vote before she gets here. I'll second the vote.
Are there any other nominations for chair of the committee? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, well, Director Williams is now chair of the committee. The next position will be vice chair. May I seek nominations for vice chair of the committee?
I'd like to nominate Adam Niebrook as vice chair.
All right. We have a nomination for Mr. Niebrook. Any other nominations? May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, congratulations, Director Niebrook. With that, well, I would turn it over to Director Niebrook to continue the. Thank you. Good morning. Please silence all electronic devices for the duration of the meeting. Welcome, everyone, to the January 12th, 2026 Strategic Planning and External Relations Committee meeting. My name is Jeff Gibson. I am HART Board Counsel, and I will start the meeting until we have officers elected. The meeting format is hybrid. Quorum is physically present at the HART Administrative Office at 1201 East 7th Avenue, Florida Conference Room, and the rest of the board members are participating via communications media technology. Please take a look at your screens
Councilman Schisler,
of your device and
seconded by
join me in the Pledge of
Director
Allegiance,
Hartfield. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes unanimously. Next item is committee action for 5A, recommendation for the
The
HART
first
Board of
item on our
Directors to
agenda is
authorize
public
the
comment.
Chief
No one
Executive
had
Officer to
scheduled to
submit
speak.
and
Is there
approve,
anyone here
the
for
fiscal
public
year
comment?
2032 Transportation Planning Organization
Seeing
list
none,
of priority projects.
we will move on to the business of electing
this
officers, which I will chair.
does
The process
not
is that I
come
will
with
take
a
and ask for
presentation, is that
nominations
correct?
from the floor, which do not require a second. Once nominations are closed, I will ask the committee members to
Verbal
vote on
presentation?
nominations in order to
Okay.
identify one committee member with the majority of votes.
Okay.
The last step is to confirm the committee officer's election with a
So we
motion
get
by the
okay,
board.
Thank you.
Are there any questions before we begin?
Thanks for the
All right, well, the
latitude.
first
I wasn't expecting
position is
to
chair
share
of the
this meeting.
Strategic Planning and External Relations Committee.
Fiscal year
Well,
2032
let's vote
TPO
before
list
she
of priority
gets
projects.
here.
Once board approves this, the letter will
I'll
be
second
submitted
the vote.
to the TPO by February
Are there any other
20th,
nominations
along
for
with
chair
the
of the
funding
committee?
applications. I will now provide some
May I have a motion?
context as to why all of this,
Second.
what all of this
All in
means.
favor?
Aye.
Any
The
opposed?
priority list is the
All right,
first
well,
step
Director Williams
to
is
get
now chair of
projects
the
into
committee.
the FDOT work program.
The next position will be vice chair.
and the Transportation
May I
Improvement Program, or
seek
TIP,
nominations for
which is
vice chair
important
of
for
the committee?
receiving federal funding.
I'd like to nominate Adam Niebrick
The
as vice
priority
chair.
list process also allows us to opt for specific
We have
parts of
a nomination
TPO
for
and
Mr.
FDOT
Niebrick. Any
funding.
other nominations? May I have a motion? Motion. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, congratulations, Director Niebrick. With that, well, I would turn it over to Director Niebrick to continue the. Thank you. Good morning. Please silence all electronic devices for the duration of the meeting. Welcome, everyone, to the January 12th, 2026
Director
Strategic
Williams.
Planning and External
Funding
Relations.
is pretty outstanding. Note that this is pretty much recurring funding that we get every single year for our top 3 priorities, which leads me to HART's priority list for this upcoming cycle that you can see on the screen. We have the following 7 projects ranked in priority order: bus replacements and midlife overhauls, heavy maintenance facility, and bus stop capital improvements. As I just said, those are the recurring top 3 priorities. Priorities number 4 and 5 are the Tico streetcar extension and the airport to downtown premium transit corridor, which are City of Tampa projects that we include in our list as a show of support, seeing as HART is a major stakeholder in these projects. And lastly, we have priorities number 6 and 7, the paratransit CATAVL project and the Tampa Arterial Bus Rapid Transit, or BRT. That said, once again, the action item for you today is to recommend the HART Board of Directors authorize the CEO to submit the approved fiscal year 2032 TPO list of priority projects. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you for that. And then just from a bit of housekeeping, Director Williams, you were, in your absence, elected to be the chair of this committee. And so I have gladly carried the water on the first 2 items, but I'd be happy to turn it over to you.
Well, thank you so much for considering me and nominating me for the chair position. I definitely accept the position and on you guys' behalf, and I'll be sure to return the favor in the near future. Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Do we have any questions by the committee members for the staff on the presentation?
I do. The dollars listed on the funding request, how's that in the budget? How's that represented in our current budget?
Well, this is for 2032. Our budget doesn't go that far out yet. So the requests are 5 years
Okay,
into
never
the
mind,
future.
forget it.
Yeah,
Okay,
no
we'll
worries.
check those.
Thank you. Any other questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. Motion and a second. Danielle, will you take a roll, please?
Director Hartfield,
Yes.
Director King,
Yes.
Director Mechanic,
Yes.
Director Niebrick,
Yes.
Director Schisler,
Yes,
Committee Chair Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda is the presentation. June 2026 proposed service changes. This will be presented by Donnie Murray, Manager of Community and Business Engagement, and Jesus Pereira Garcia. You won't be going far, right? And Manager of Service Development. Ready for your presentation when you're ready. Thank you.
Good morning, board members. My name is Donnie Murray. I'm the Manager of Community and Business Engagement. I am joined again by Jesus Pereira Garcia, the Manager of Service Development. Today, we'll be providing a summary of some recent public involvement efforts that we did for proposed service changes, talking about what we heard, and then going over the final proposed service changes we'll be taking to the board for approval. A brief recap of this process: we recently finished a comprehensive operational analysis, or a COA, which was a full review of the entire system and resulted in some short-term service changes recommended by the third-party consultant. We took some of those recommendations to make the network more efficient and decided to move forward with some of those recommendations and took that to the public to get some feedback. Today's presentation will be reviewing what we heard from the public and then sharing the actual adjustments that we made to our initial proposal based on what we heard from the community. The board is required to approve service changes when they exceed a certain threshold as a part of board policy. This presentation that we're taking now to this committee and then to the board is actually the informational presentation. We'll be coming back to the board in a month for that actual final approval to give time in between hearing the proposal and actually making that decision. If the board approves any of the service changes at that March 2026 board meeting, these changes would go into effect in June 2026. And as a reminder, we are about to do a major update to our transit development plan this year, and that's when we'll be talking about the more large-scale vision and some future changes over time. The COA was really just looking about short-term changes for things on this day-to-day. So in accordance with HART policy, to have public involvement in connection with any route eliminations, we requested feedback from the public about these proposed changes for a whole 31-day period from September 15th to October 15th, with that final public hearing being held on October 15th from 5:30 to 7 so that the community can have a voice in this process. We had a variety of different formats to receive feedback, both physical and digital. Our main sources were having an online website, heartserviceinput.com, along with our outreach events were another main source of input for us. But we also accepted feedback through email, phone calls, and mail to ensure that people with limited access to online could still participate in this process. And all comments are considered equally regardless of any of the formats that we received them. To educate people on the proposed changes that we had a flyer that listed all of these proposed changes, a flyer that listed all the dates where they could come to these meetings or talk to staff, maps that showed all individual route changes, a summary video, we had display boards at events, and handwritten comment cards right there in person. And all these materials were available in English and Spanish. We promoted this opportunity to provide feedback through a variety of different ways throughout the HART system, both digital and physical. So we had posters at bus stops where there were the highest route impacts proposed. We had flyers and posters at transit and transfer centers. We had flyers posted on board all HART buses and vans, information posted on the HART website, our digital transit app, social media, sending email newsletters, sending a press release, and then putting newspaper advertisements. So in total, HART hosted 21 public meetings and 16 pop-up events for a total of 37 community events. So that was a total of 63 hours of HART staff out on the street. These outreach efforts targeted the affected routes, primarily 24LX, 25LX, and the HARTFlex South County the most. Public meetings were advertised with a set schedule, and those pop-up meetings were the more organic ones where we were just trying to pop up at places like MTC and UATC to talk with our riders. During these events, we reached a total of 751 people who were engaged directly with staff, and we distributed over 450 flyers. This outreach effort included being at our transit center 12 different times. We had 4 different open houses at community centers and libraries. We had 4 online virtual town halls, of which 2 were in English, 2 were in Spanish. We had our final public hearing here at the EBOR offices. We had pop-up events at the 24LX and 25LX park and rides. And we had staff actually riding the routes affected 8 different times. And we also coordinated with the Hillsborough TPO, who were able to provide us with additional staff support through Kittleson and Valerian so that we could actually implement all of these outreach efforts. So the proposed service changes that we did take out to the public included 8 routes being adjusted total, of which 3 of those we are proposing to eliminate. So with this proposed change, we received a total of 212 unique comments from the community, again, both through those in-person events and online. We read through all of them and actually adjusted the plan accordingly based on all those comments that we were reading. And so while we did hear about some routes more than others, the numbers that we did hear by each of the routes are pretty representative of those daily ridership numbers for each of those routes. So we did hear the most, again, from the 24LX and 25LX. Those are limited express routes that go from Brandon to MacDill Air Force Base. And we also heard a good amount from the HARTFlex South County in the South County area. And so again, the numbers that we heard from each of those routes are pretty representative of how many people are actually riding those routes every day. So I feel pretty confident about, we heard the most from all the people that are actually riding the routes. And then we also did hear 65 other comments, just some miscellaneous service requests, feedback, future ideas, and we put those into our log of the feedback that we receive on the day-to-day so that when the time comes to actually review maybe some of the routes that we weren't looking at this time around, that we'll have that feedback ready to go for that future analysis.
Question, whenever you're ready.
Yes, please.
When you said you received 200 and some comments and then made adjustments to respond to those comments, I'm trying to get a feeling for, was that 100% of the time you were able to answer the objection and solve the problem, or you looked at it and did the best you could. I mean, I don't expect you solved every question, but I'd like to hear that, about that process.
Great question. So these 200 plus comments were about a range of different things. So we did try to break it down by looking at how many people were supporting the proposals, how many people were maybe against it, why were they against it. So we did look at, for example, a lot of that for the 24 and 25, trying to figure out what is it that they're trying to get at with these routes. For example, with those miscellaneous comments that we heard, some of those are about, hey, we'd like to see frequency on this route. We'd like to see a new service in this area. And so again, we just logged those comments for a future time. And the rest of the comments you can see on this slide here, some of those were actually modify the proposal. So for example, one of our proposals was to remove this loop that went to the Hillsborough County Community College out in Brandon. We actually removed that from our final proposal based on the feedback that we heard. So some of the comments we took, we were able to analyze a bit further and decide, okay, let's make some adjustments to the plan. Another adjustment that we decided to make that you'll hear about shortly is that we're proposing to extend the Route 360 an additional hour. So again, each comment has some different feedback, some different perspectives, and we do the best that we can. We definitely respond to every single comment, and we still look at every single comment to figure out what is it that the community is asking for and how reflective of it is it of our entire community. Does that answer the question, or I can go into it more if you need?
No, that was a good answer.
Great, thank you. And a log of all the comments that we did here, including all the flyers that we provided and the schedule of outreach, is included in the attachment of the final report to this presentation. And then briefly, the way that we did explain these changes to the public and that you'll hear about shortly is that this full list of proposals is a trade-off. So what we're trying to do with this comprehensive operational analysis is that we do have a limited number of resources that we have, a limited number of buses, a limited number of hours that we can even afford to have a service out on the road. So while we do have some eliminations in this proposal, that trade-off is that we're hoping to use those buses and use those hours more effectively and more efficiently throughout the system to serve more people and to hopefully use like those buses and those hours in a way that serve the community in greater purpose and serve more people the best way that we possibly can. These changes are cost neutral. We're not trying to save money. We're not trying to spend more money. It's all cost neutral. So again, it really is just a balancing trade-off of moving buses from one place to the other to serve more people and make sure that our entire network is just operating more effectively. That's how we communicated these changes to the public. And now I will hand it over to Mr. Jesus to talk about these proposed changes one by one and our final proposed service changes that we'll be taking to the board.
Okay, thank you, Donnie. Good morning again. The first proposed service change is the removal of routes 24LX and 25LX, which are limited express routes that go from Brandon, East County area to downtown and MacDill Air Force Base, with only 3 one-way trips in the morning and 3 one-way trips in the afternoon. There are several reasons behind this proposed removal. First, these 2 routes are among the least productive in the system because they travel long distances without picking up many passengers, especially on long expressway segments. These routes serve mostly commute trips for one primary employer, the Air Force Base, and some downtown workers. This makes them highly sensitive to ridership swings tied to changes in work schedules and working conditions. Other routes have a more diverse and stable ridership base with different trip purposes such as errands or recreation, serving multiple types of jobs, and serving more destinations. I will elaborate on this a little bit more on the next slide. The alternative for riders of routes 24LX and 25LX is Enterprise Vanpool, which may be a better fit for this type of trip. It can provide more flexibility with direct trips, shorter trip times, and choosing your own schedule, including times and even number of days per week. For riders of Route 25LX, they have an additional alternative, which is Route 360LX, which goes from Brandon to MacDill Air Force Base as well, but it has all-day hourly service. And as Donnie mentioned, we're going to improve service hours on this route by extending it an hour earlier. We have already engaged with Enterprise Vanpool regarding promoting Vanpool among riders of these 2 routes. We have also reached out to MacDill Air Force Base, letting them know about this potential removal and the Vanpool alternative. One of the proposed improvements is to increase frequency on Route 38 from hourly to every 30 minutes on weekdays, which would be reallocating the resources of routes 24LX and 25LX. The initial proposal was to increase this frequency on Route 9, but we chose Route 38 instead, so that those resources will go back into the greater Brandon area in a way that serves more people better. Route 38 serves Mango and Brandon, and it's 100% within unincorporated Hillsborough County. All Brandon routes are currently hourly, as you can see on the image in purple, so this would be a significant improvement for the area. Route 38 is a high ridership route, and it's a high performer. It ranks 9th with almost 20 passengers per revenue hour. For ridership, it ranks 13th with almost 1,900 weekday daily boardings. Also, Route 38 buses are regularly full. Data shows that this route has high loads. We sometimes receive comments from operators regarding limited wheelchair space as well. All of this considered, there's a strong need throughout the day for higher frequency on this route and in this area. Additionally, Route 38 serves workers from several industries, including service workers, retail, healthcare, and the casino, to name a few. Going back to route removals, we have a third one, the HART South County. This is the least productive route in the whole system. On average, it only carries one person per trip for a daily total of 30 rides, which means this service costs HART $60 per ride. There are many factors that hinder the success of this service. It is hard and unsafe to walk in this area, for one. Also, the landscape is dominated by gated communities and a fragmented street network, which is not prone for typical transit service. Also, our technology currently only allows for a 2-hour advance reservation, which isn't the most convenient for riders looking to get a curb-to-curb trip. For those who qualify, Sunshine Line is an alternative to HART South County. Sunshine Line is a door-to-door transportation service for elderly, low-income, and people with disabilities who do not have other transportation options. It is run and operated by Hillsborough County. Transportation is provided for medical and social service appointments, grocery trips, health and wellness, personal business, and more. We have already engaged with Sunshine Line staff, and they're aware they would need to take over this service area if the flex goes away. We have also given some thought to a microtransit concept, which is shown on the next slide. The annual operating cost of this conceptual microtransit zone ranges from $1 million to $1.4 million. The cost of microtransit varies based on things like number of vehicles, contract rates, and response time. Compare that to the operating cost of our current HART Flex at less than $500,000. Also, the current service requires only one vehicle in operation, while the microtransit will require 4 or 5 vehicles. The reallocation of resources in the COA does not allow to cover that cost. New funding will need to be identified. As such, microtransit is not presented as a viable alternative at this time. This is just an exploratory conversation. There is no scenario in which a microtransit service would be ready for implementation in June. The reallocation of resources in the COA does allow for on-time performance improvements to 1 or 2 routes. The exact route will be determined during the scheduling process. There are many factors to consider when choosing which routes get the resources freed up by the removals and adjustments. Things such as on-time performance data, ridership, operational efficiency, operator feedback is very important, and conditions on the road. This slide shows the bottom OTP performers with the lowest ranked on top. As you can see, routes 7 and 9 are strong candidates to receive these OTP improvements. We hear a lot from operators about the struggles on these 2 routes. Lastly, we are removing the last trip in one direction for routes 7 and 46. This is because these trips have the lowest ridership per trip in the whole system. Sometimes there's one person on board, sometimes the bus is empty. For Route 7, the last eastbound trip would be removed 7 days a week, which is the 11:25 trip departing for Marion Transit Center. For Route 46, it would be the last westbound trip that would be removed 7 days a week, which is the 10:45 trip departing for Brandon Mall. The alternative in both of these cases would be to take the previous trip, which would be the new last trip. Finally, here's a summary of all the service changes, which is the final proposal after public input has been incorporated. We have 3 improvements: Route 38 frequency, on-time performance improvements with the route to be determined, and an extra morning trip on Route 360 LX. We have 3 removals, 34 LX, 25 LX, and HARFlex South County, and adjustments to 2 routes, 7 and 46. Remember, the removals are part of a trade-off. We have limited resources, so if we want to prioritize them in a way that optimizes the network to serve the community the best way we can, the trade-offs come with removing inefficient service in one area and reallocating those resources where they are needed most. I also remember that all of this is cost neutral, so we're not saving money, we're not spending money, more money. And lastly, a recap of the next steps. So the proposal will be discussed at committee today and full board early February. Then it will come back to the committee in February and the board in March for final approval. Once approved, the service change process will start for an implementation date of June 7th. And lastly, the COA will feed into the TDP, which is something you'll hear more about next month as well. With that, we thank you for your time, and we're happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Do you have questions?
Yes, Chair, I have one. or
Thank
two.
you. Mr. King?
How many riders are going to be adversely affected by these changes, would you say? Total.
Well, they're always, the removals will always affect people, and that's why we talk about alternatives a lot.
I'm asking for a number. How many riders are going to be
Oh, a number.
adversely affected?
Yeah, so so you see the ridership on this slide?
Mhm.
So it's about 84 daily riders on 24 LX and 62 on 25 LX.
All right, but you're talking about more changes than just this. So how many total riders are going to be adversely affected by this?
About 200
Okay.
daily,
And
weekday.
how many riders will be positively benefited by this?
So for the 38 in particular is 200, so it's about a wash. But then you have the on-time performance improvements, which helps more people, I would say about 1,000 off the top of my head, depending on which route gets the improvement.
Okay. And the parent command out of McDill, what was your response to your proposed changes?
The riders were,
No, the ability, the Air Mobility Command, the parent command for McDill, what was their response to these proposed changes?
we engaged with one person from their, I forget what department it was, but we engaged from somebody and they were, they told us they are a van pool user, so they understand what it will take and they think that, even though it's gonna be a change for them because they're used to the bus, van pool can be a more convenient alternative.
Okay, and you spoke with someone in what office at McDill?
I need to check. Do you remember? Yeah, I need to check. I think it's community outreach or something like that.
All right, thank you.
If I could add just one thing.
Yes.
So the 365 will still service
Yeah.
McDill Air Force Base.
Yeah, I was just trying to get a gross number as to what the impact would be.
Okay.
Thank you. I just have two questions. The Sunshine, you mentioned that it wasn't currently offered, but it would start offering it.
So Sunshine Line is a countywide service and they serve what we don't serve because they serve people who don't have an alternative. So if they have HART as an option, if the person has HART as an option, Sunshine Line doesn't serve that trip. So if HART goes away as an option, then Sunshine Line would take over.
Okay, thank you. And I think there was one HeartFlex rider, but we had 15 that were against the change.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, the one daily average, so it's one per trip, sorry, 30
Yeah, I
per
get
day.
it. Okay, thank you.
30 rides per day, which is about 15 people. So we pretty much heard from everybody at that point.
Okay, but there wouldn't be the only change would be how they got there versus them having an opportunity to get to where they're going. It's my understanding, right?
Yeah, well, that's why we give the alternative of Sunshine Line. HART Plus will still be an alternative for some of them as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other questions?
Just one.
Thank you. Mr. Niebert?
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I'm understanding. So the 24 and 25 that are being removed as part of this proposal, which are estimated to impact, let me say it this way, the riders of that route, the Sunshine Line isn't a viable option for them because that's local to appointments and for people in low income. But if you're using that for commute to work in South Tampa, that's not an option for them. Is that correct?
No, if they have an alternative, it's not an option. A lot of 24, 25 riders do have a car. They just opt to park and ride the bus. But if they have the alternative to drive, Sunshine Line is not an option for them.
Very good. And then the alternative that we're offering as part of this change would be the 360, which according to the comments, they don't think is a viable option. But then our position is that we need to remove from the system these routes because they're the least productive and make the savings from that invested into the core. And then when I read through briefly the 89 comments, I didn't find any of those. 89 of the 212 comments received were regarding the 24 and 25. Is that correct?
Sorry, say that one more time?
It appears to me that we received 89 comments from the public, and of the 212, I should say it this way, of the 212 comments, 89 of them were related to 24 and/or 25. And in reading through those comments, they are all against. Is that a correct summary?
Correct, yeah. So of the 212 comments, because some of those comments mentioned multiple routes. So the way that I say it is that 89 of those comments mentioned the 24 LX, and they were against it because they were all riders. And then with the 25 LX, 38 of those comments mentioned also being against that removal as well, because they are also the ones actually riding the route.
Okay. So of those comments, all of which are against, our answer to them is to either drive your car or to take the 360.
Or the enterprise van pool, which actually might even be a better option for them anyways, because instead of having to rely on 3 trips in the morning, 3 trips in the evening that are set every day, the van pool would actually give them a lot more flexibility with setting their schedule, leaving and arriving when they want. They can even decide to only drive maybe 4 out of the 5 days. But that is the other primary alternative for them is enterprise's service of van pooling.
And then I'm not familiar with the enterprise van pool. Is that something we provide, or is that given to them through another service?
It's through another service. It's actually run by Enterprise Car Rentals.
Oh, I see.
But it's a separate service, and they provide a whole van pool program.
Okay. And that van pool program is targeted to this group of people that take this route. Is that correct?
Any commuters. There's lots of, they already operate throughout all of Hillsborough County, and I believe in Pinellas County as well, but it's really just for any commuters. I believe some USAA workers use it, other county workers use it, so it's already an implemented service throughout the county for really just any commuting trip.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, thank you. We appreciate your presentation, and this will go forward to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to old business. New business. Hearing none. Oh, I'm sorry. Mrs. Sarko. Okay, you didn't have anything. Okay, going back to old business. New business. Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.